Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to CPS. For those of you who haven't met, my name's Ian Walls. I'm the president here, and I'll be the MC for this evening's presentation. We've got quite a few visitors here tonight, so just run through some health and safety things. Exit doors are there, and back out the way you came, and toilets in the far, that corner. Well, I'm not sure whether it's the right or left, depending which way you're facing. So that's those are the things that you'll need. We've also got, from all over New Zealand, an invitation went to all of those who've entered. So I'm hoping there's a bunch of people on live stream watching the goings on here. So they're responsible for their own health and safety, but I would recommend that they made a really good effort now, if you're on live stream, to go and get a glass of wine or whatever it is you need, so that you don't run out during the showing of the images. So you don't probably need to hear me rabbiting on, but now would be a good time to do that. So, welcome to the 2023 Laurie Thomas Landscape Salon. And we always have to kind of start off this talk with a little bit of talk about the bloke behind me on the screen, who is Laurie Thomas. Laurie Thomas was a devoted member of the Christchurch Photographic Society in the 1950s and 1960s. He played a key role of the development of CPS over that period of time, and he was also an integral part of the wider organisation, the Photographic Society of New Zealand. This is often said, because there's one paragraph that seems to be used to describe him all the time. People describe him as a quiet, dapper, slightly built man, but who was always immaculately dressed. So I'm not sure whether that creates a picture of him or not, but that in combination with this picture, which I think certainly fits that category. It's said that his great loves were his work, his garden, his friends, photography, and above all, the South Island landscape. So for his name forever attached to a landscape salon such as this is really fantastic. When Laurie passed away in the early 1990s, he left significant bequests to both CPS and to the PSNZ. The CPS at the committee at the time created two events to keep Laurie's name alive. The first of them you all know about, and this is primarily aimed at those who are looking from afar. And the second is the one that's really majorly significant for us at CPS, and it's where the benefit comes back to us. And that is the annual winter school, the Laurie Thomas Winter School for CPS members, which is held in July. And that's been going on for the entire time since Laurie made that bequest. Laurie Thomas Landscape Salon, open to all photographers throughout the country, and it's where the entire recognition of landscape photography comes in. The bequests from Laurie have stayed active as the profits that we've made at CPS throughout members' activities, running such things as conventions and other salons and things of that nature, have meant that the winter school is able to be partly funded, and that makes them accessible to all of CPS members. So that's a really cool thing, and it's a long time benefit of the Laurie Thomas fund and in memory of him. So on to the salon. We asked you to provide images from the sweeping vistas to the hidden gems of every sunshine, of every season or 4 seasons in one day, from sunrise to sunset and beyond, be it bold or subtle, from the mountains to the seashores, from the forests to the deserts, from one end to the other of Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud, and you did. There's some fantastic images to see tonight. So what I'm going to do now, having rabbled it on while everybody on live stream went and got a glass of wine, is to move on to get the judges to have a little bit of a discussion about their experiences with the Laurie Thomas judging this year, and I need to introduce them before that. The convener this year was Tony Stewart. Tony lives in Templeton, which is on the outskirts of Christchurch, and he's a working professional photographer with over 23 years full-time experience. His work is mostly commercial and events with some wedding and fine arts to add some variety. He does documentary and astro and landscape photography are genres which he explores as part of his personal activities. He continues in his industrial industry involvement as the NZIPP Iris Awards judge, and he's recently presented at several amateur and professional photography events in Christchurch. Tony has numerous award accolades to his name, including the fact that he was NZIPP Landscape Photographer of the Year in 2018, so he's eminently qualified to judge a landscape photograph competition. John Foster. John's also with us tonight. John's a photo educator based in Christchurch, and in recent years he's opened a dedicated teaching facility and a photo studio, and he concentrates on small classes and photo tours around New Zealand. He works as a professional photographer for select commercial and architectural clients, and since Christchurch earthquakes he's been increasingly involved in spending more time around New Zealand making pictures in our stunning landscape. And the third member not here tonight was Janine Fletcher. Janine has a long-time connection with photography, and she has been inspired to branch out from traditional photography business into an area of creative and fine art landscape photography. She makes, edits and prints all her own pictures and frames, and she sells her work from an awesome little gallery in the streets of Ranfurly, a small rural town in the middle of central Otago. It's very much a working gallery, so if you ever drive through Ranfurly and you don't stop at her shop, you deserve to be told off. It should be something that you go to Ranfurly specially for. It's a really cool little gallery and well worth a visit. And when you're finished there, if you cross the road, they actually have a cafe that does the very best cheese rolls in the country, so I can highly recommend that. But first of all, I'm going to ask Tony to come up and talk a little bit about the experience of judging the Laurie Thomas Landscape Salon. Tony Stewart.
Thank you, Ian. When you said quiet, dapper, and well-dressed, I knew it wasn't going to be John or I. Look, thank you, team, for the opportunity to being asked to judge. When we first asked, I haven't really done a lot of stuff with PNZ or Photographic Society before, and it's very different to the judging format that we're used to in professional awards, yet there's commonalities to both, and I think we can certainly transcend, you know, looking at images and picking them, the qualities, that's universal. So the panel we put together with John and Janine, I think was a really strong panel, and I think I worked it out roughly, we've got probably 75 years full-time experience between us. Oh, yeah, I've got the grey hair. Jeepers. But reality is that most of us, we get out there and about, and we love our landscapes, and it's something that we treasure. And having Janine up from the Maniatoto, coming in from Central, was a joy. And she's got a very, very astute eye for landscapes, as with John, who's out there doing it with his courses around the countryside. So look, we'd like to thank you for entering. To see just under 500 images was amazing. And can we just have maybe a show of hands at the moment for those that entered? Did most people in the room put something in? Oh, that's great. And of course it was open, I think, to folk from around the country. And one of the things as judges that we really enjoyed was the variety of landscape. We live in a truly magnificent country, and the older I get, the more I appreciate it. And there's a lot of places that I haven't been to that I'm still discovering. And when you see competitions like this, there's a lot of stuff tucked away. So look, well done for giving it a go. The fact you're out there doing it is the win. Photography is the winner for the fact that you're out there trying, so great. A little bit of feedback, if it helps. We do know that it's really tricky when you're in an open category and you've got people ranging from beginners right through to people that are well experienced to sort of compete on the same level footing. We know that that's a challenge. So hopefully the people that may not have done as well as they thought can see the results and the kind of feedback we'll give, and hopefully that will rise. You know, a rising tide lifts all boats, is what I'm going to say, is that we're all winners. A couple of bits of feedback for those people looking to improve their work and to look at how they can do well in competitions like this. As judges, believe it or not, we want you to do well. So when we look at the work, we're actually looking at how we can reward you as opposed to how we can knock you back. And from that mindset, we're going out to try and make sure we can deliver and get you across the line for acceptance or honours, and we really want you to do well. You need to help yourself, because sometimes when we're trying to do that, we're seeing a great shot, and then one of the judges go, but it's not straight. And we go, oh no. And of course, if it's a horizon or a seascape, I think, well, there's no reason for that not to be straight. So it's those wee things that automatically go, oh, we can't go there with that one, can we? And so just getting on top of those little things, and things like digital noise, there's really no reason, unless it's a deliberate post-production input, to have an image that's speckled with noise and the likes, with the sort of software and treatments that we can do. So it's those sorts of things as well, just cleaning up your shots, that we would think would go a long way for some of the bits and pieces there as well. We've also noticed some people's cropping. We'd love to see people experiment with their crop, and often within some of the images that we were seeing, and this is photography in general, there's often more than one image. So try with a piece of 2 L's, with your fingers, and look for some images, because you may find that left side or right side or top or the bottom of the corner, it may not be adding something. It may be taking something away. It might be darker, it might be lighter. And we probably saw maybe about 8 to 10 shots where we thought, oh, if only they brought in that corner and tightened up there, or that bright spot that was distracting. We'd certainly encourage you to play around with that. Any other bits and pieces, John? I've got my notes. I might put my glasses on, actually. Just one moment.
That's right. While he's doing that. We'll just go into how we did judge. We each judged independently on our own, and then we met up and decided to knuckle it all out, which was really entertaining and actually quite a good way of doing it. But one of the things we found was a lot of images we all marked the same. And then what we did is we got together, and then we thought, well, we'll use the marking system that we use for NZIPP, which is out of 100. And so we'd each write down a number, and then we'd average it. And that's how we narrowed it down. And then we started comparing, once we got it narrowed right down, to see which ones that we could really award. So that was our process, and I think it actually worked quite well. So, and we did have a few coffees over that time as well, I might add. Didn't need them.
We stayed off the whiskey.
Oh, we did, yeah. Probably because it was the afternoon. But we might as well get started, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, look, there was a couple of points I did see there. So we actually, just further what John said, when we scored it that way, as we're used to doing it, we did that for our own benefit to allocate what we believe were the higher ones and the winners. It actually had no bearing on your scoring, but it was the process that we used to determine the sort of the rankings that we thought. I did have another quick comment here. And I think this is photography in general, but particularly for an awards judging like this, we're really looking for something that you can bring to the table as the photographer, as opposed to you were driving along, got out of your car at head height, saw a picture and thought that was a cracker picture of Lake Pukaki that the next person before and after me took. Now, we didn't actually see pictures of Lake Pukaki, but I'm making that up. But that's the kind of thing that it's a lovely picture, but we want something from you. So as judges, we're looking to see how you can interpret a scene, what you can do different, what you can do in terms of understanding light, time of day, mood, technique, processes, and stuff like that. So as soon as we're given something a little bit different, that's when our interest starts picking up, think, hey, we haven't seen that before. Or I love the fact that this person's got down and done this through the whatever. And they've really kept an eye on some of those classic compositional techniques, mid, fore, and rear elements, as opposed to a lovely sunset, which sometimes lacks some of those foreground, midground, and rear things. So by giving those leading points of interest and the mood, that's how a lot of the images that we saw managed to do better than others, if you're wondering. Probably about all we have to say on judging. Any questions on the judging process, how we did it? Good, yep, too easy. Haven't started throwing tomatoes, that's even better.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Much appreciated. Right, now is time to get on with the show. So we will be playing all of the accepted images, accepted and above images. The slideshow will run through, and then that'll be followed by the presentation of the awards for those of you here. And once again, we're stepping through those in order. So on with the show, please. How about it? Yeah, well done. Thank you, everybody. And if you're like me, watching it once is not enough. So I'm not going to promise when, but soon that AV will be available on the Laurie Thomas Salon website. So go back and have another look at it. And that particularly applies to all of you watching it on the live stream. So what we're going to do now is proceed on with the presentation of the awards. I'm going to ask the judges to come up. John and Dennis are going to come and organise this big box of prizes. Effectively, what's going to happen is they'll come up in order, and I will just simply read out the names of the people who are there. And if you're here, stand up pretty quickly, because there's obviously lots of people that aren't here. So stand up, come forward, collect your medal or your award certificate or whatever it is. And we'll move on while the picture's on the award screen. So here it is. Let's get on with the awards for the 2023 Laurie Thomas. Heidi. Is Eunice here? No. Joe. Heather Child. Lynn Clayton. Sue Coombs. Tell her off. Joe Curtis. Nope, she's not here. She's still down in the freezing cold. Hi, Joe. See you on the YouTube, no doubt. Peter is right there, I'm guessing, at the same place. So I hope it's snowing where they are and there'll be more pictures like this. Graham Dainty's probably down in the deep, dark south getting rained on. Karen Dance is definitely here. And Barry Dench. Yeah. Rodney Donaldson. Jay Drew. Carolyn Foster. James Gibson. Tanya Halliday. Diana Hamilton. Susie Hare. Jared Harris. Carolyn Hope. I guess this is telling us that there's lots of people all over the country entering and doing well in this. John Hunt. Barbara Lee. Linda Liang. John McCall. Deborah Martin. Carol Molyneux. John Reed. Lynn Strouter. Cliff Threadgold. Karen Triggs. Susan Verncombe. Greg Wass. Well done, Greg. Chris Watson. Tom Wilkinson. Ron Willems. Cheryl Williams. Paul Williams. Beverly Winstone. And on to the honours. Lynn Elves. David Bowie. Nell Davison. Gail Douglas. John Ford. Carol Garside. John Hawkins. Sue Henley. Erin Jacob. Adrian Jefferson Brown. Penelope McCall. Deborah Owen. Bob Pullen. Bob Scott. Jennifer Simone. Anna Stewart. Anne Tate. Michael Venz. Anita Vermeer. And Yuan. Better get the photo. Bronze medal. Paul Donegan. Can we get some photos of the medal winners? Diane Kelsey. And the silver medals to Mike White. And this is pretty exceptional. Here comes the gold medal winner, but you'll also notice he also got a silver and a bronze, and that's a little bit greedy, really, if anything, but a pretty exceptional effort from Roger Wandless, who unfortunately can't be here. He's in Invercargill and has got to go to work early in the morning, but we've got him connected via the computer, and so Roger will have a word or two in a minute about his award-winning images. Just before we go into that, though, I'll just ask that everybody here who entered we're going to give a catalogue to everybody who entered the competition this year. So if you're here and you're entered, there's a catalogue with your name on it, parked out the front. So pick that up on your way out. Would be good, or on your way through to supper. That'd be cool. Okay, and once again, the AV will be available to be seen on the website not too long away. I'm now going to ask Tony again to chat a little bit about the honours images, and then we'll get Roger up on the screen. There he is, and he can tell us a story about his. Here we go.
Are you there, Roger? Are you there, Roger? Well, I'll keep talking, and hopefully you'll kick in. Look, I do know Roger, for full disclosure, but we had absolutely no idea that was his imagery, and the judging was certainly very professional and fair. So I think with that disclosure, I think good job on the win, Roger. The shot itself is potentially a little bit, I don't know if it's controversial, but we first looked at it, and we had a long discussion, and part of a good image is one that actually gets you thinking and gets you talking, and it's drawn us in, and we spent a long time and we really worked it through to make sure that we were all happy with the shot as a winner. The shot itself, you'll notice, is an aerial, assumably, and taken as a drone of waves on a beach, titled Oreti. Who is? Roger? Who's shaking their head? Roger is.
You want me to talk?
Shall I keep going?
Hi, Tony.
How you getting on, fella? Right? Did you hear a word I said?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
funny, you got some of it right. When I tell you the real
you were
story,
shaking your head like it wasn't true. Look, we looked at the image, and we're looking at it from a fine art point of view, and this is really what we believe a top landscape image really needs to be. And there's very strong element there to a Maori korowai. You can see it almost as a cloak, but we know that it's not. We know that it's actually a New Zealand landscape. So the analogy behind the image making, I think, is very clever, where we're seeing something which is very different to what is being portrayed. And we felt that actually it's shots of waves, but extremely simple. Yet within the simplicity, we found we were going backwards and forwards, and I think I do urge you to go and have a look at the image close up, because we felt like it was a story that had paragraphs, and then within that had sentences, and that within the groupings of waves, the paragraphs, we felt there were individual waves which like sentences, and each one had a signature, like a brush stroke, and it was that almost sort of allegory to painting, like a McCann, that we thought, this is photography, it's the New Zealand landscape, but it's bringing something else. Yet, despite very, very simple subject, has been managed to do with a great deal of skill and craft, which is not actually easy, which we felt was well deserving of the title of Supreme Winner. John, anything to add to that differs?
Look at his face.
Can I just add that, the image was, when we first saw it, it didn't actually get to inspire all of us. I was probably one of the ones that did, but when we discussed it more and more, and we kept going back through all the narrowed down photos, it just kept getting stronger and stronger, and that's why we all agreed in the end it's the winner. So, congratulations.
Well done, Roger.
Hello.
Hello, Roger. Away you go.
Right. I've got two computer screens going here, and one of them's delayed in my ear, so apologies if I'm a bit stilted. Hi there, Tony. Good to see you. You talk far better to it than I probably will. I hope what I'm going to say now doesn't change your mind on the image. So I guess the first thing to say is thank you to the Christchurch photo. Can you hear me all? Yeah. Okay. Thank you to the Christchurch Photographic Society. I hadn't heard the story of Laurie Thomas, and so to know that, to understand his legacy, and then to have the privilege and honor, I suppose, of doing well in this competition is just, I guess it's just all the sweeter. But thank you, and it's a privilege. In terms of the three images, sometimes you spend a long time planning an image and it just doesn't come off, and other times it just happens. This was a family trip we were doing where we were going to the Northern Hemisphere. Now, normally my 12-year-old wants the window seat, and this was taken from an Air New Zealand, leaving Invercargill, and unusually it was turning to the west. It does occasionally, and so I was sort of half wondered if it might. But for some reason, it did a bank where you were literally looking straight back down on the beach on a windy day. And I was struggling to control the camera. It wouldn't focus where I wanted to. Clouds were sort of swirling in and out of the frame. And I probably got one good frame out of it, and that was it. And it was just more instinctual. But yeah, I mean, whether I as I pushed the shutter, all the stuff that Tony was enunciating was going through my mind. I'm not sure, but I did have a sense there was that was the composition. It's in my own mind. It sort of reminded me. It sounds a bit weird, but just in sort of shape and feel, if you like, a bit like Gustav Klimt's The Kiss. But I think Tony's description, sort of music, stanzas, and the Maori aspect to it certainly hadn't come into my mind at that time, but he's spot on in terms of seeing that in there. But it was just one of those things, being prepared for an opportunity and just grabbing it and taking them, and hoping for the best sometimes. And probably, we went overseas for 3.5 weeks, and that's probably the best image out of the whole thing. So you don't need to go very far sometimes. So that was that image. The other image, the other two images were taken on the same trip. So the New Zealand landscape is, if you're going to capture it from well, it's a big landscape, isn't it, in many ways? And to capture it properly, I think you've got to get up and above it. And so I've been trying to find ways of doing that, and doing more aerial photography, more from fixed wing planes of late. It's not necessarily cheap, and it's obviously it's easier than climbing to places which would just be impractical. I'd love to, but it'd be impractical. But it's still hard. You've got to know your gear. There's a lot of hit and miss with the weather. You've got to know your pilot, and you've got to anticipate and put the plane in the right spot. And so for this particular trip, I travelled up to Twizel, hoped to do something at sunset. It hadn't happened. I know the pilot well enough that I could stay in his caravan, and we got up the next morning. I thought, may as well, I'm there. And I got up for the sunrise. I'm looking for the starburst. I'm looking down the Murchison with Cook, and it didn't quite work out as I hoped it would. And you go through all that effort, and literally the magic moment can be a second, and in a plane it goes round, and you've literally got a second or 2 seconds. And so this was taken. I'd done that, and then I because I know the area a bit better, I just thought, well, I'll just try and tick off a few places in my own mind to make the best of what I've got. And so the upper Tasman one was one I knew it works quite well. I like the way what draws me to that place is the way that the river draws you to the peak. But you do need a bit of interest in the sky, and just the colours of that time of year makes it all work. And the final image is sort of opposite, really. That was just being alert to what you were seeing. And what I saw there was just this wonderful way the light was falling through on that mountain, which I think we believe is now Mount Mannering. And it was kind of reflected in the sense it gave a diamond shape to the luminescence and then the shade around. But that's just, you see it, you take it, you grab it, you don't really get a second chance. But it wasn't something I could have predicted, but it's one of the joys of it all. Yeah, so look, thank you very much. I hope you all have a great night, and nice to see your smiling face, Tony.
Thanks, Roger. I'm not sure whether you can hear us or how this whole thing's working, but once again, congratulations, an awesome selection of images, and the trifecta is, I doubt that that'll be done again, so well done, and go and get yourself a well-deserved glass of wine, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, everyone. Yep, I think I better retire, hadn't I?
Okay, thanks, congratulations again. Alistair, can you throw the next honours up? Mike, I'm going to get Mike to come and talk about the silver medal winning image. If we can get it put on the screen, that'd be good. But okay, you can tell us which one it is. The problem is he gets 3 awards and we have to tell him which one it is.
Thank you, judges. The silver image is the top right, frost at Loch Cameron. For those of you that have explored the Twizel area, it's a little wee lake up the back towards the Ben Ohau range. I'd spent a few days in Twizel. I think this was last year. The temperatures had sort of stabilised around a -6, -7 for a few days in a row. I'd spent plenty of time around all the usual spots with all the tourists and bypasses slamming brakes on the main road and taking photos of the Callan Ponds and such forth, so I started looking further afield. I love reflections, I love asymmetry and symmetry working together, so I spent a bit of time enjoying a nice frosty cold landscape to myself, no one around, and just pretty much walking around the whole lake until I found a composition that I liked, and that was it. Yeah, so it's a fairly simple image, nothing fancy in terms of capturing it, and just a single shot in the right conditions.
Well done. And now we'll move on to the bronze medals. I'm not sure who's first, let's find out. Diane.
Once again, thank you to the judges. Well, I think I must be probably the laziest landscape photographer ever, because these are all off the Sumner coastline, which is clearly my go-to spot, because that's where I take the dog every day. And the pink one was basically the only lens I had with me, because I was with the dog, was the 100 to 500. But the light was phenomenal, and so I just had to wing it. And I had no filters, but it's something I just had to capture, and I like the simplicity of it. So, of all of them, simple things. Less is more for me, I'm afraid. So that's my effort. Thank you. Thank you.
Well done, Diane. And Paul.
Thank you to the Christchurch Photographic Society for putting this contest on. I spent the time looking at all 497 images before this, and I can't believe I've got one up there. This is Flock Hill Station. It's dawn, obviously, looking down towards Lake Pearson. It was my 3rd trip to Flock Hill Station, so I knew exactly what I was looking for when I got there. Unfortunately, you can't go there anymore because it's now owned by a wealthy American syndicate, or you can go there if you've got $10,000 a night to stay in this particular place where this photo is taken from. They invited me back on the 3rd time when they were building the lodge because they'd liked the photographs I'd taken there when I was there. So it's early in the morning. It's about -5 degrees. I've got hiking boots, 2 pairs of socks, 2 pairs of pants, gloves, a toque, and everything imaginable on while I waited for the sun to come up here. So yeah, got lucky. Thank you very much, and thank you to the judges.
I don't think that's called luck, guys. Just saying. Okay, that concludes our presentation tonight. Thanks for you all coming, and thanks you for watching on the live stream. All I need to do there is to pass on a little thank you to all the judges. There's 3 of them here, Tony. I'll let you distribute them as necessary. Thank you very much. I think the quality of the images that we saw from that selection of 500 odd is a huge commendation on the work that these guys did, and I think they helped us put together what I thought was a pretty special evening and a pretty special Laurie Thomas Salon. So thank you again to the judges. A few more thank yous that need to happen before we can go and have a cup of tea, and that is effectively to the Laurie Thomas Landscape Salon team that put this together. Firstly, Alan Moore and Andrew Miller, who did all the IT stuff and answered the bajillion questions about how people could make entries and get that to work. So that was an exercise that took them a wee while, and they did a great job of it. John Thornton put together both the AVs that will be on, we saw tonight, and will be on the website before long, and the other one of all the other images, so well done to John. My daughter Kendra, who's in the UK at the moment, but did a whole bunch of work for us putting together the catalogue and some of the other graphics. I was pretty chuffed that she did that. Occasionally you get something back from your kids when they do some work for you, but it doesn't happen all that often, so I'm going to relish it when it happens, so that was good. And overall, I wanted a huge thank you to Dennis Chang. Dennis kind of coordinated the whole thing and did a fantastic job of pulling bits and pieces from all over the place together to make sure it happened. So huge commendation to Dennis. Well done. Thanks very much for that. Okay, in a minute we'll wander through to the supper provided, and a special thank you to Jan Bogue for organising that and putting it together. She also rustled up a team of assistants, and that's ready to go, so we're ready to move on to that. But overall, I think we need to thank tonight all of you who entered. This doesn't happen without 496 entrants coming from all over the country, and when that effort comes in from all over the place, I think we put together something pretty special. So once again, thank you to everybody who entered, and well done. We'll see you next year. Thanks. Hello, just been advised that the pies aren't quite ready, so don't be in a huge rush to go through to supper. It's all there. Come and hit